How you doing? Llewyn Davis.
Oh, hello. I've heard your music.
Outside of Gertie's Folk City in the Village in 1961 in general, and that's the music that preceded the folk revival and music that followed the period that we made this specific movie about, so there's all that. But there was also a point in which I think we were just kicking around ideas, and we thought, wouldn't it be interesting to start a movie with a folk singer, specifically Dave Van Ronk? I don't know why he came to mind, but wouldn't it be interesting to see Dave Van Ronk being beaten up outside of Gertie's Folk City in the Village in 1961?
Mel, there was no advance on my solo record. There's got to be some royalty. Mel? Mel!
How you doing, kid?
And I think partly there is a bit of the comedy of resilience, you know, that his resilience, you know, in a way kind of like Buster Keaton. Sometimes you watch, he's just one thing after the other, but he's pushing through, and that I think makes us laugh and makes us love him. I think there's a similar thing with this movie. That's the thing, whenever I knew I was doing good, or when a scene went well, is when I would see them, you know, Joel and Ethan laughing the most. And the times they would laugh the most is whenever I would forget that it was a comedy and just treated it as tragedy. Whenever I was in the most internal pain in any given scene is when they would laugh the most. You know, and I think that's because, but it's not a laughter of like, ha-ha, it's the laughter of recognition and of like, that's true, that's, you know, we laugh because it's awful, and that's how life feels, you know, often. But out of that comes a joy. It's not a cynical view of life.
You know, the opportunity to work in a Coen Brothers film, you know, comes along once, or 5 times if you're John Goodman, but, you know, once if you're just a regular, normal, lucky person. So I just wanted to be in one of their visions, and I didn't really study what it was going to be, and I can't really imagine it, and I never watched the monitor, and I want to be sort of surprised, but it's the coolest job I've ever had.
I got a phone call from Joel Coen via Scott, and he said that he and Ethan were working on a new film, and that there was a supporting role in there that they thought I would be really funny. They're laser focused, they know exactly what they want, but then there's this room in between with the time allotted to shoot that scene where they fully support freedom of creativity. You never want to make it campy, you always want to find some sort of thing to ground it with, and that's where Joel and Ethan are so great with their writing and direction. Is you never feel like you're getting into cartoon land.
I believe, you know, I love this thing. I love this show. I love this movie. I love the Coen brothers. I love the story they're telling. I think from the very beginning, we've always wanted to do a story where all the music was live. You know, it's a crucial American story. It's about the thing I care most about in our culture. You know, these brilliant minds that have such a beautiful overview of a century of music, really.